And so after a few years of working out all the adumbrations of those ideas, it now seems to me something else is on the horizon, which is this general thrust toward alteration and expansion of consciousness has now been able to take root in domains other than pharmacology, specifically communications technologies and the technologies which transform and move data around the planet. And it seems almost as though what was anticipated in the vegetable trances in the Amazon 30 years ago, things like group-mindedness, gestalt perceptions integrating very large fields of data and all of this, are actually now on the cultural horizon, not as drugs, but as hardwired technologies delivered as though they were public utilities, the internet specifically.
Space is like a drug, and we've all been smoking it. We've all been getting high without even realizing it. All been participating in a mediated psychedelic experience, parceled out through images, digital media, photographs, footage claiming to be from the International Space Station, from the Hubble telescope, from the moon, from the Voyager 1 probe, giving us a cosmic perspective that we otherwise would not have, and expanding our conception of what it could possibly mean to be human, what we could possibly strive for. In a very real way, the fabrication of outer space serves as that transcendent experience that opens the person's mind to the idea that we can become gods, collectively and individually. And if you think that this is a crazy thing for me to say, the craziest part about it is that they are not even denying this anymore. It is right in your face.
We've got a video to come to on this. I'm going to come to that in a second. There's a young lady in the front row who's had her hand up for a while.
Just relating back to your original assertion regarding technology making religion obsolete, can you really say that technology will answer the kind of timeless questions that religion is always supposed to be able to answer, like what happens after death, or more subjective questions regarding morality and things like that?
Yes, I think that experiences of awe are, for me, the most sort of transcendent experiences. I never had them from religion, but I certainly get them when I watch, the Hubble IMAX 3D film. And when you consider what the Hubble is, it's an instrument of man. It's an optic nerve floating in space that allows us to mainline the whole of time through our own optic nerves, to quote my friend Ross Anderson. And so when you consider what that does, to be able to gawk at all of space and time and fit that something as vast as that through something as small as our brain, to contemplate and push our perceptual boundaries to such a degree that we have to upgrade our mental schematic just to accommodate the scale of that experience, I say that expands our consciousness. I think that is a psychedelic experience. That is an experience of that which exceeds our intellectual capacity.
She wants to come back at you.
Which is what Joseph Campbell refers to as God to begin with, that which exceeds our intellectual capacity.
That idea.
Recently, Mark Sargent was invited onto Russell Brand's radio show to answer questions about the flat earth theory, and repeatedly Russell kept asking the underlying question of why. What is the advantage? What would be the purpose or the advantage or the agenda behind lying about the shape of the earth and the cosmos and everything? And honestly, Mark really fumbled, I have to say it. But the worst part about it was that, ironically, virtually everything Russell had to say in response embodied everything about the actual answer as to why they lie about the cosmos.
So what's the advantage of the flat Earth theory? Even if it were true, why would people deceive us into believing that the world was spherical? How is that advantageous? Hold on a minute. Why? I mean, I understood that first bit, that it undermines previously held academic opinion, which itself, though, was founded on the assumption that we began with the world is flat, it looks flat. Then Copernicus, Galileo, Endeavour, space missions, unless all of that stuff's I guess your idea is that none of that stuff is real or true.
Yeah.
But then what was the advantage in abandoning the initial position of the Earth is flat? It's not like, hold on a minute, let's tell everyone that Earth's round. We'll earn a few quid out of that. Then we'll go back to saying it's flat. I mean? I can't see a definitive. It's not like going, for example, other conspiracy theories like, JFK was murdered by the government and that's a way of manipulating power, or even more contemporaneous theories around sort of terrorism, for example. You sort of think, it's the manipulation of power and the management of populations. Right. This particular theory seems like sort of almost gleefully atavistic, and I can't see the advantage of it.
What do you do?
Because implicit in that is our entire reality is somehow constructed, that it's not an organic sort of planetary astronomical body, but some sort of construct, like on that film The Truman Show.
And after,
I'm down with that kind of stuff. I'm down that our perception of reality is built upon narratives. Right. But the thing I'm still struggling with is the advantage of it.
Okay.
Let's don't let them find out that this is like what you're saying is a constructed reality under a dome where our extraterrestrial overlords experiment on our reality, introduce different genes, that there's a superior consciousness that we're interacting with, and only a small percentage of the population know about it. Because I think that could still be true, even if the world was a globe. That doesn't necessarily get in the way of that idea. If there is an advanced civilization capable of constructing such a beautiful, illusion, then I did a little blow off. Then that they'd be able to conduct that just as easily on a sphere. And what does this mean about our studies of sort of like sub-particular matter? Because that too has certain geometric features that fit in with its macro corollary, i.e. that the sphere is the fundamental building block of the physical plane. So as a paradigm, it's the same as if we discovered extraterrestrials, or if in fact ancient religious ideologies were literally true, that by
very
deferring to some sort of supreme power, our own reality is undermined. Last night, while I was doing one of my brilliant new dreams I'm working on, I stirred and awoke, and there was this sort of geometric subset in my consciousness immediately on awakening, where I thought the indigenous language of the mind is geometry, and all subsequent forms of semaphore are applications that the culture endows us with. But there is a literal and essential truth. Now, if there is some literal essential truth of which all material reality is some projection, the laws of physics would occasionally mutate, which is like, I'm not the first person to say that. I believe old Einstein said something similar, i.e. time is relative. Or, or Planck and Heisenberg talk about the mutability of physical law. So, like, I like your theory in one sense that it invites us to investigate the nature of our reality. No, I think you've done well there, mate. But I don't know. Say you get it out there, and everyone goes, bloody hell, this is an artificial reality. We're in some sort of ecosystem, like that bloody place down Cornwall. What's that called? Do you know that place down Cornwall? Eden Project, yeah. We're in some ecological system where everything's being controlled.
Sure.
Or like Elon Musk says, this is a sort of a virtual reality, and that's, that means that the laws of physics are irrelevant, whether it's spherical or flat or wherever its dimensions. It's being bloody conjured up in our own consciousness, which I think is, pretty cool idea in itself. What's the advantage, mate? If you get it out there, what happens? Other than that stock market crash.
Cross section. There could be, couldn't there? Is it not feasible, Mark?
Yes.
That within there would be a network very much like a honeycomb, and within each cell a fluid, and within each fluid a larvae.
And the thing is that there just really is no excuse, because for anyone who has invested the amount of time in debunking all the space footage and picking apart NASA and the Copernican cosmology, all you have to do is listen to the underlying humanistic, evolutionary, transhuman, pantheistic message that is being preached by everyone who is pushing the false paradigms of scientism and Copernican cosmology.
Carl Sagan says we are the frontal lobes of the universe. So we are the universe, being aware of the universe. Just like the brain can perceive itself, well, on a sort of macro level, we are the universe perceiving itself. And these moments of sort of mental expansion, and then seeing the fact that, with our biotechnology, we're manipulating biology. With nanotechnology, we manipulate matter at the level of the atom. The whole freaking thing becomes a creative universe that wakes up, a creative universe that comes alive. And so the singularity is just ultimately a kind of metaphor used to describe the ineffable and indescribable nature of a universe, a creative universe, accelerating in its capacity to be creative. Terence McKenna said the universe is a novelty-engendering universe. It's a universe that sprouts complexity, sprouts new possibility. Kelly says technology is the seventh kingdom of life, subject to the same evolutionary forces. Pierre de Chardin, the Jesuit priest, talks about the omega point, this complexity leading us towards this kind of rapturous transcendence of all previous limits. Eric Davis, who wrote in Technosis, said that eventually the human design process will achieve a kind of infinite velocity where everything becomes linked with everything else and matter becomes mind. Because that's really what's going on. We take in matter of low organization, we put it through our mental filters, and we extrude it as space shuttles and iPhones. So when you look at the stuff, you see like, wow, Kurzweil's singularity is the same as Pierre de Chardin, the Jesuit priest who was tripping out talking about the omega point, which is the same as Timothy Leary talking about us going from worms into butterflies and transforming ourselves. And it's the same as McKenna talking about a universe that engenders more and more novelty, and is the same as Kevin Kelly's techno. So you see the academics and the writers and the scientists and the sort of psychonauts all saying ultimately the same thing. Isaiah Berlin said, to understand is to perceive patterns. So you start to see the patterns, and it's humanity, it's certain minds just noticing the same thread, the same common denominator, which is kind of this move towards that something. It's like staring into the sun. It's hard to describe, but I think we're going in that direction.
People used to think that the sun was at the center of the galaxy, something important about our position. It turns out to be wrong. We live in the outskirts. The globular clusters are centered around the marvelous middle of the Milky Way galaxy. And then it turned out that this isn't the only galaxy. We live in this one, but there are many others. And as this picture reminds us, there are many different kinds of galaxies, of which ours might be just this one. There are, in fact, 100 billion other galaxies, each of which contains something like 100 billion stars. Think of how many stars and planets and kinds of life there may be in this vast and awesome universe.
Why did you contact us?
You contacted us. We were just listening.
And there are others?
Many others.
We can trace the elements. They were forged in the centers of stars, high-mass stars, that went unstable at the ends of their lives. They exploded, scattered their enriched contents across the galaxy, sprinkled into gas clouds that then collapsed and formed stars and planets and life. And so these ideas, these cosmic perspectives, this pilgrimage to the cosmos, there are people who say, this makes me feel small, because I need to see the immensity of the cosmos. And I say, no, you're not thinking about it the right way. Whereas I know that the molecules in my body are traceable to phenomena in the cosmos. But when I look up in the universe, I feel large. And it's our 15 pounds of gray matter that figured this out. There's a kinship with the cosmos that resonates deeply with New Age thinking, but I'm not apologetic about that. It's what we find. If whatever we find resonates with whoever, go ahead, take it. Tell me what part of my brain is lighting up, because that excites me. That makes me want to grab people in the street and say, have you heard this? quite literally true that we are stardust. In the highest exalted way, one can use that phrase. Recognize that the very molecules that make up your body, the atoms that construct the molecules, are traceable to the crucibles that were once the centers of high-mass stars that exploded their chemically enriched guts into the galaxy, enriching pristine gas clouds with the chemistry of life, so that we're all connected to each other biologically, to the Earth chemically, and to the rest of the universe atomically. That's kind of cool. That makes me smile. And I actually feel quite large at the end of that. It's not that we are better than the universe. We're part of the universe. We're in the universe, and the universe is in us.
So, are you still smoking the drug? Are you still chasing that high? Even if maybe you don't even believe in space anymore, and you've questioned the whole Copernican paradigm to a degree. Are you still chasing that dream of expanding your consciousness, becoming one with the universe, one with the cosmic consciousness? Because that's what's at the core of it all. That's the ultimate deception. It's the distortion of our own human identity and the distortion of God's identity. That's the agenda. That's the why. Thanks for watching.